Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 11, season 4, episode 11 of THR. Poleni sana, tumechelewa kidogo, a few technical hitches, but we are live. And tonight I'm joined by George Njuguna, as always, my co-host, and we have one of the most experienced coaches in the land of Kenya, and that is Meshak Senge. I don't know kama ni stima hakulipa, ni tokens zimeisha ama ni nini?
Nafikiri stima walikata, walisema zilienda campaign.
Okay.
Wali redirect to campaign, so itabidi tumecope hivyo for now. Otherwise, I'm well. I'm just coming from training. I'm on the road, and I'm happy to be here.
Nice. Thank you very much for joining us and taking time to be with us. Njugush, how are you, my good friend, since we last met?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Keeping safe.
It seems you have ambitions for your birthday. I saw you on the pitch on Sunday.
Unfortunately, I played. Is it unfortunate or fortunate? And it's clear that I am very unfit, but the little I could do, I did.
You know, you did something. I had asked Barry to get a good photo of you so that I can use it today, but rumor has it that you decided to take the camera and go with it home. I don't know if someone leaked that story to you or what.
No. Barry has all the photos, so I'm sure whatever you want to do, you can get the photos from him. But it was good to get back onto the pitch. I'm still not fit. I think I'm around 50 or 60% fit. Just recovered from a cold, so it was a bit tough running onto the pitch with a clogged chest. But yeah, hopefully by the next game I'll be fit enough to play more minutes.
Good. Yeah, remember, if you have any questions or comments, go to the comment section and type it, and we're definitely going to read your comments as we go on and questions as we go on. Three things we're going to talk about today. Number one is, of course, the reviews of the just concluded week 8 games, and then we have also week 9 preview, which we are going to intertwine with one of the main topics that we are talking about, and this is the hockey culture. Saimo, when you talk about hockey culture, what do you mean, before we ask Senge to come in?
You know, the word culture is holds a lot of meanings. When you speak to a traditionalist, they'll tell you culture is something that inahusiana na their own let's say naitwaje utamaduni wa kimila. Let's say if you're a Kikuyu, there is the Kikuyu culture, and that if you speak to someone who is in the chemistry lab, they'll tell you a culture is probably something that you need to ideally, when you speak about culture, it's a conversation I also had on Saturday with one of the hockey coaches at City Park. I won't mention his name. It's more or less to do with how a team or a club runs their staff, how they run their own training, how they run their own team management, and how they do their own organization. So I think when we continue with this discussion, we're going to speak more or less about the same, about what clubs have, the culture we have in the country, the coaching culture we have, the playing culture, as well as the overall culture of hockey in the country.
Good. And interestingly, also, I had the same discussion on Sunday with Senge, who apparently it's exactly a year since he has been here. Last weekend, this past weekend, I think it was on Monday when I saw a notification that Senge was here last. So Senge, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
I know we're going to talk more about that, but let's begin with the leagues. I don't know if Saimo, you can share the screen, or I can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, you may continue sharing the screen. Yeah.
Good. We are going to look at the leagues a review of the games that played over the weekend. Senge, your overview. Which game was your highlight over the weekend? Because I saw you, I think, also on Saturday at the pitch. Which game stood out for you?
I was at the watch
Yes.
the Lakers versus Wolverine because Lakers managed to bag 3 points of that game with a robust performance using their key players. Generally, the result that stood out two: one the Police versus USIU, and the other was the other standout was Butali versus Jaguars.
Yeah, and I know you watched part of that game Sunday. So let's begin with Sunday. USIU Kenya Police 0-1. I don't know if you had left before the Police had scored. No, you left after first quarter, right?
Yes, I left actually at halftime.
Okay.
And
Simon, I don't know.
Just before I left, USIU had 1,000,001 chances to kill the game. They missed too many
chances.
Just before I left, I was saying that these guys might just live to regret these chances. And by the time I was getting to destination, the game was over and Police had won 1-0. And I said, how unlucky. You probably 4-1. Probably.
That's true. Simon?
I agree with Meshach there. I agree with the coach that USIU had bags of chances, but they failed to capitalize on them. I was having a chat with one of the guys we were watching the game, and I was telling him I was telling him that USIU are going to regret that game because the game is usually like a pendulum. It swings one way in favor of you, and then once it swings the other way, the other team, if they take their chances, you lose. Then he told me that they were playing as if they have 2 hours of game time, So sometimes you need to kill the game early. We counted, I think in the second quarter, they should have been 4-0 up. They had clear-cut chances, one-on-ones with the keeper. Sometimes the striker was left alone with the keeper. It's a matter of they were left alone with an empty goal, goal mouth. So it was a matter of them now being calm in front of goal and scoring. The other thing is, I don't know how, and I think this is a discussion we are going to have, and also Senge is going to pitch in on this, is most of the time players want to hear the back of the board. They want to hit the ball and hear the back of the board come out with a bang. Wanataka wachapeo mpira hadi tusikie board imetoa kelele. Instead of just placing the ball inside the goal, they want to have a full-blooded shot towards goal, which is difficult. And most of the time the goalkeeper's reaction and reflexes will always come out with a save. 9 out of 10 times the reflexes take over. The other game that was quite interesting to watch was the Wolverines versus Lakers game. As I said, it was a close one to call, but I believe that Lakers would carry the day, which they did. It was a very, very interesting match to watch. The only thing that I believe Wolverines need to work on is how they are moving forward. Their transition from defense to midfield is good, but between midfield and attack, there was not quite much going on there. So I think the coach is there, Dennis Owoka, and his team need to look at that transition, that attacking transition. Yeah.
Let's stay a bit before we just go through the results in totality. And I have to ask Senge, fatigue, because they are just come from the Gold Cup tournament, which they sort of were playing back to back. Do you think this is one of the things that contributed to their loss? And probably they were all too familiar with Police?
In the game, in the USIU versus Police game, that could be a factor because they played 5 games in 4 days. which is quite a bit of an ask of a team. And then immediately after, because the games ended on Friday, and then
Yes.
one day, and then they're playing again. So it is possible. But however, I didn't see the manifestation of fatigue in the game. I saw people who you mentioned about players wanting to hit the board so hard until
Yeah.
the cage tumbles over, and that's that. We talked about culture. That's part of our culture, which is wrong. In coaching, there's a whole topic about scoring within the 9-yard area, and it talks about slap, push, flick, or tip-ins. It's a proper topic in coaching school, and the coaches who've done courses, and especially the coaches who've done courses that I have conducted, must be aware of that. Having said that, even my players still miss the same, and I coach that. So it's about player awareness and game intelligence of the players. But I think most of it also comes through with maturity and experience in the game. The people who've played for long react better in that. For example, if Oliver Echenje got the ball in the same spot that Jamlek got the ball in and missed, I'm sure Oliver would do something different. Or even Titus would do, Taiti would do. Why is that? It's because of the exposure
and that is what he exactly did.
and the experience. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did.
It comes with with familiarity with that environment and the presence of mind in that situation. And that
Simon, I don't know. We seem to be losing him a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, we seem to be
Quickly
losing
look
him.
at the results. That was the Kenya Police USIU, which we just.
Sorry, Senge. We lost you a bit there. Are you back?
Okay, let's just go on for a bit. We have on Saturday we had Western Jaguars Butali drawing with Butali 0-0. Simon, I'll call your input on that, and then Green Sharks are back to winning ways. Second win of the league so far, beating Mombasa Sports Club 2-1, and then Park Road winning against Sailors 1-0. In the Super League men, we had 4 games. KU drew with Park Road Tigers 2-2, and then we had JKUAT winning against Nakuru 1-0, and then Vita losing to Sikh Union 3-0, and Rosalindo Masters winning 3-1 against Tuk. In the National Men's League in Mombasa, we had Mombasa West on Sunday winning against Impala 2-1. They seem to had a very bad run this weekend because they also lost to Daikyo Heroes on Saturday. That was 3-2. And then Karate lost again to Thika Rovers 3-0. And then Kisii Falcons were beaten at home 5-0. They are not joking, my friend. They seem to be to have woken up. And then lastly was Rovers winning against Chapel 1-0. Quickly on that men's league, what is your take, Butali? I know you are not there, but police have now reduced to a point.
you know, I was very confident in the last show saying that it was obvious, and it's going to be obvious that Butali wins against Jaguars, but that it's a game. You know, they lost 2 points. It happens. You remember that game was Park Road versus KU. Park Road, we were winning the game with only 40 seconds, I think 43 seconds to go. And a lapse of concentration, we lost the points. It's a league. The Premier League is a league where, as I keep saying, you can't afford to drop points. Those 2 points are important in this race, especially the away games. But yet again, to get a point away is good. because going away to, let's say, Western and Mombasa, those are not easy places to go. But at the end of the day, a point is a good one. It can also be the difference between winning the league or not. So police stepped
I
up.
think
They won the game against USIU. Yes, Senge.
Senge, we can hear you. Go on.
I have actually parked on the side of the road to have this conversation. So I'm no longer moving. I'm parked on the side. Now, you talked about Butali and Jaguars and the result thereof. There's a lot of stories going around about that result. I don't know if you guys have had issues around officiating. There's issues around the match reports, and it's very ugly if such things. Jaguars have their own story. They think that the umpires were not very good. They actually made a protest on the match sheet that in the match sheet, I'm told that the match sheet that was submitted, that comment was cropped out. So I think it is fair that if teams lose, they should be happy with the work they put in and honorably lose and walk heads high, knowing that we need to work on 1, 2, 3. But when teams lose and there is and it's across board. Even Jaguars are saying some of the decisions were crazy against them, and we need to. I don't think these umpires are so inept. I think they're knowledgeable, but maybe they're complacent, because for the both teams to complain, it means something was very wrong with the judgments. So I'd appreciate if my team lost and you go across the pitch and shake hands with the umpire and say, good job, we lost fair and square. And that's what sport is supposed to be about. We must not also be bad losers, but we must also appreciate the good work of the umpires if they've done a good job. Because the that were done, there is, but up to reasonable limits. There is what is in reasonable limits of human error, and there is what is now perceived as being biased. So that is a thin line that the umpires must want to try and navigate. Otherwise, I think
let me just
getting a point against Butali coming from a back.
It is.
That's
it is.
True.
And
Just
on
to
that
do
point
it-
of umpires, it's something that I think it has been going on for a couple of years. I think for the past 3, 4, 5 seasons, there has also been similar complaints of away matches, either being biased towards or against the home team. And I think it's something that KHUA and KHU as well need to take serious note of and bring it to an end. We can't have teams who go away always coming back and say either if they won or they lost, they just say no, it's bad going away because the umpires usually favor the home side. It's not a good thing. And on that note, I also think that the umpires are doing a good job. They need a lot of credit. It's not easy to umpire a Premier League match of that magnitude. It's easy to speak when we are on this side of the fence, but if someone is given a whistle and they are told to umpire a match, especially a Premier League match, it's very, very difficult. But there is room for improvement. One of the key areas I think umpires need to improve on is allow the game to be played. There are a couple of instances where you find an umpire is quick to blow the whistle instead of letting the game play for an advantage. I remember the Wolverines versus Lakers game. There were around 3 or 4 instances where if the umpire played on, there would have been 3 or 4 goals. At one point, uh, there was a penalty corner. The striker hit the ball. The goalkeeper saved it. it was a raised ball, but the opponent got it at the edge of the D and had a backhand shot, but the umpire called a raised a foul as a raised ball. So, but you see, at the end of the day, the ball is still the striker's ball. So why do you call it? Why do you call another short corner? So those are some of the things that I think they need to improve on. But in terms of the complaints coming through every other day about away matches, I think this is something that Engineer Majiwa and the KHUA team need to have a serious look into.
Yeah. Quickly, I think one of the things, just to add on to what Senge had said about, accepting a result and, working on your next game. I remember very well JKUAT against Took, and which was 2 weeks ago, and this weekend when they played against, was it Nakuru? Yes, the one they won 1-0. I remember Sami really complaining after the Took game. And then on Sunday, I went to interview the captain and I told him, Sammy, I don't want to talk to you today. And he was like, why? Why don't you want to talk to me? But then later on, we catched up after their match against SIU. And he was telling me, you see, these things happen, just like what Senge was saying. You have to accept a certain reasonable limit as a coach and go into the back room and talk to your players about it and just, pick up from where you've left and just look at it into the next game. Before I hand over to Saimo, I want to read one or two comments here. This is Felix Ochi, who says, I can see the girls from the lake had a good outing. Thank you so much, Felix. And then Duncan Waiganjo says, thank you guys, you're doing a good job. Asante sana, Danko. Saimo, over to you. Yes.
Yeah. Now, before we tackle that matter of culture, let me just engage Coach Senge a bit about the ongoing trainings and preparation for the East Africa qualifiers, as well as the Birmingham competition for the ladies. This time round, we've seen the country, both men and women team, participate in a couple of international tournaments, which has not been the case over the past few years. At least we've had, I think, 3 or 4 competitions going on over the past 1.5 years. Is this good exposure for the team, considering that we are both men and women are building younger sides for the national team? Hello, Coach Senge, are you there? Before he comes through, Njugush, what do you think about that? It seems that everyone has gone offline. So, yeah, as I said, there is a lot of competitions going on. We have the East Africa qualifiers going on. They will be coming soon. We also have the ladies team who are preparing for the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. Let us know in the comment section. Do you think that over the past few months or so, I think the 1.5 years past, we've had a couple of tournaments going on, which is a good thing? Is it good exposure or not? Personally, I think it is good exposure, having the ladies team especially winning or getting that qualification to Birmingham 2022, and it's good to see them organizing and training, getting that training in to go to that competition. So it's a matter of getting prepared. At least this time round, we know the ladies have been preparing early. We don't know when they are going to go into camp. There is word that they should be going into camp very soon. Sorry about that. Yes, Njugush, are you back? Hello? I can't hear you. I think you're muted. Still can't hear you, Njugush. As Njugush is sorting out his audio. So, we know that also the World Cup is coming on this year, next year as well. We also have the Pro League that is getting ready to kick off. Some games are already going on internationally. It will be good to see Kenya in that international stage. It was good to have the Gold Cup going on the other week, so that we have those international teams coming up, and I hope it's a tournament that can continue. It's good exposure for the local teams to have international teams coming over. I also think it's good that we have our own local teams visiting other countries and having that sort of match experience for them. So I don't know whether these two gentlemen are back. Coach Senge, are you there? Hello? All right. Okay. So moving on, we were supposed to talk about culture in the club. It's a discussion that popped up over the weekend regarding how our clubs are organizing themselves, how our clubs are running their affairs in terms of training, in terms of their own match day, as well as ongoing activities of the club. So the big question is, what is the culture of your club? The other day, on Sunday, I was having a discussion with one of the coaches, and he was asking about why it is difficult for players who go into the club setup. They don't want to train as much as they don't want to train they don't want to have some structured training in terms of we know, like, for example, 40 minutes is for fitness. We have ball work for the first, let's say, 20 minutes, and so on. They have technical training, tactical training. Most of the coaches most of the players just want to get onto the pitch and play. So I don't know whether Meshak Senge is back. Are you there, sir?
I am hearing you. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, before we go on to the culture, I had asked about recently we've had a lot of competitions where Kenya has participated, both men and women national teams. And these are young teams, these are young players coming through, and we still have more competitions coming through. So, speaking from your experience as a national team coach and also as a coach who prepares young players for the national setup, do you think that these competitions are good enough exposure for the team building up to the future?
I think these competitions are godsend. We
Mhm.
can only move forward if we expose the players to high performance environments, and these competitions provide something out of what we are used to, what we are familiar with. We are familiar with our leagues, with our opponents, because we play them week in, week out.
Mhm.
When we have a situation where we're having a team coming with a different organization, a different approach to the game, it opens our horizon to think even deeper and even wider on how we approach games. Having said that's about the Gold Cup, which was amazing. We should have
Mhm.
more of these kinds of tournaments, both within and without. And also, when we talk about now the AFCON that just ended, it is a calendar event from Africa and also from FIH. But away from the calendar events, it would be nice if we had organized tri-nations, four-nation tournaments, not only within the FIH calendar, but out of our own initiative. I know finances are a bit of a challenge for the sport of hockey, but we can organize better, we can manage better, and we can resource better. If we are able to work around at least two tournaments in a year, for sure I'm positive that there will be a huge leap in the level of exposure, because the players perform out there in the big stage if they used to that big stage. There are players who get to that big stage because it's their first time, they get intimidated and they don't show exits they have. But if
Mhm.
they've met these
Oh, I hope we've not lost him again. Mhm.
Okay.
Hello, coach. Can
so
you hear us? Okay, you're back.
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay. Continue. We had lost you there a bit.
What can we do to have them more away from the Africa Hockey Federation and International Ghana, Nigeria welcome the idea, and it's a conversation we have with coaches from the regions that they would welcome the idea of us having our own 3 tournament. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's an initiative that we can work with, subject of funding.
Yeah. Njugush, what do you think? Good enough exposure for young players?
I think that's what we need. And a classic example is Uganda. You know, they have come here a couple of times. They have mastered us. The confidence is there, and with time now, you know what they did to us last time they were here for test games. Senge was in the booth, and I'm sure he can.
He was the commentator, so he has a very good record of what happens.
Yes.
I swear that was one of his jokes.
Yeah,
Because,
so it's something that
coming from a coaching perspective, and you're bench, and you sometimes get into the coaching mode, and you want to communicate this information to the bench on this side, and I really got split in there. But new territory. Yeah, well, we could have. I think how we approached the game was not very correct, and we probably assumed that it was going to be easy, and then we were shocked because Uganda were prepared for that game. And sometimes it's not about which team is better than the other technically. It's about which team wants it more. Or as they say, it's not about the fight in the dog. It's the dog. It's not about the dog in the fight. The fight in the dog. So the fight in the Uganda dog was bigger than the fight in the Kenyan dog, which was a German Shepherd, and the Ugandan dog was a Spitz.
The village dog.
Unajua huwa anasema ile jogoo ya mjini huwa imenona, lakini ikipatana na ile ya kijiji huwa inafunzwa vita ni nini.
So the lessons learned for me in there was that every game has to be treated on its own merit. There's no easy game. There's no difficult game. It's how your mindset, because the game has four facets that I keep talking about, even in coaching. The game has the physical, mental, technical, and tactical facets of it. Most of the games now are won on the mental bit of it. How ready are you for this challenge? How psyched up are you? How pumped up are you for this challenge? And I think Uganda were pumped up. They didn't believe the first results, I think. They were trying in the first result, and it worked for them. And that gave them motivation to do something, at least not to go lower than what they did, and probably play for a draw. And they won the second one. And then they said, "Oh, let's kill it." And now the problem is that the Kenyan team panicked after that. So then belief disappeared and structures disappeared, and then there was too much urge to redeem. And when there's too much urge to redeem, sometimes you lose your structures.
And also, one of the things that happened, we the media didn't spare them. We were on their necks completely, and that's one thing that even caught the attention of the nation, and everyone was like, I mean, Uganda doesn't beat us in anything. How can they beat us in hockey? And
now that's the beauty or the tragedy of playing at home. If you're not up to scratch, they will skin you. The fans will skin you because they're stakeholders. The media will skin you because they expect better. If you're playing in Ghana, they will have the benefit of doubt of having first-hand information. But this they're not being told. They're seeing. They are on the pitch. So they're not being reported to. They are actually on it live. And that's the difference. So sometimes players get to be under more pressure playing at home than when they're playing away, especially when the fans are demanding. And like now in Kenyan society, the fans are demanding. They want the rankings to be better. That's the problem right there. They pushing the. I think it's a positive challenge. I think we must not look at it negatively. We must look at it as, yes, this is where we are at. These are our fans. They deserve better, and we should work towards giving them better. So we should take it as a challenge.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Senge, before we move into the culture, because this discussion is just taking a different tangent. As a commentator, when you commentated the first game, the second game, how was it? Just giving your own analysis of it, and considering you're next to these people, and you had already alluded to the fact that you want to give them tips, but you have to be at the same time neutral, so that you don't look like you're biased, and you also fall into the frying pan.
I am part of the coaching and development committee. So then it becomes my responsibility to analyze the games. Actually, that is where I am at right now in game analysis. And post the games, immediately after every game, I would seek the attention of the coaches and tell them what I thought, having analyzed how Uganda was playing. Because at that point, I am not the one under pressure. So I'm looking at this game very objectively. And I can see things that probably the coach is not seeing because of the pressure that comes with now the result and you're on the bench with the team. So I shared my thoughts with the management, and whether or not it was executed is story for another day. But you see, the coach also has the plans that they've made for this particular game, and but we can only. That was a nice lesson for us, and we learned. I think we learned a lot of lessons from there, and it can only make us grow stronger. But I can tell you for free that if you're a coach and you're doing commentary, you will be caught somewhere in between, especially if you're part of that setup. You will be caught in between.
Yeah, I know it's a difficult one. Now let's jump into this issue where you find that sorry, I'm just trying to pull up the title there. The discussion is players, as players, I'm also a player. We want to go into training and just hold the stick, get the ball, and start playing. We don't want to get involved into those fitness training sessions, technical training sections, tactical training sections. And part of the tactical training sessions is actually sitting down, either having a smart board, a whiteboard, a projector, and the coach detailing how you should move, where you should move, how he plots everything on paper, and then now you can go onto the pitch and do it. Coach Senge, why is it so difficult, and why don't players want to get involved in such structured training? They just want to step onto the pitch and play.
Part of the reason is that coaches are not very keen on coaches' education. So coaches want to be coaches because they have played, so they have experience of playing, and they imagine that their experience can work for them. What is easy for you as a player must not necessarily be easy for the other guy as a player. So now that is where we start parting from. That most of the coaches are not certified coaches, and therefore they don't appreciate the tactical, technical aspects of the game. That you can actually draw a session and do a core 1, core 2, and core 3 of the game. That this leads to this, and you have a process. We want to attack the baseline, for example. How? So we get stuck at attack the baseline, the what, because there is the what, the how, the why, and the where. So we get stuck at the what because that is what the player mind says. But the coach's mind talks to the what, the where, the how, and the why. Why are we in the first place attacking the baseline? Why are we not just running into the circle? What informs our decision to use the baseline as opposed to dribbling in through? And if we have answered that, how are we going to attack that baseline? What methodology are we going to use? Are we going to 3D? And then where in the baseline do we want to access the circle from? And you see, that thought process lacks if you have not done, if you're not educated in that way. So you'll perceive from what you have seen, and then try and implement, but you don't know, you don't really appreciate the why.
But if we look at the transition from high school to club level, or high school to university, these players, where they started from, they had structured training, or somewhat of an semi-structured training. The coach used to tell them, before you get hold of the stick and a ball, you have to run for like 30 minutes or 40 minutes. After that, you have to do ball work, that is pass and stop, or move with the ball, dribble. And then after that, you can do either short corner training or play a small game. At that level, at that junior level, where the players are starting to know the game, there was structured training. But as you've said, the coaches we have at the high performance level, because you can consider the club level and the university level as high performance level, they are unable to continue that transition from this semi-structured training to the structured training. So now the question is, and I'd like Jugush now to step in here before Coach Senge respond.
Okay.
Yeah. Jugush, how come players, when they get to that club or to that university team, they drop the ball? Does it mean that the club and the university have set the tone already? So this player comes and says, if these guys just come and play, then I'm expected to continue with this? Or is it that the players already at high school level are bored with it, and now they come into an environment where they find that whatever they like?
I think for me it's and I'm going to make a very heavy statement here. Could it be that we don't take the league too seriously? That is why we do what we're doing. In high school, we knew we were playing for the pride of the school. Is there anything that we are no longer? There's nothing to look forward to in terms of winning it, and that is why we don't have that desire to train hard and do and have that kind of a culture at the club level, or at that high performance level, as you've called it. So for me, I think it's probably there's nothing. We don't see the value of what we are fighting for. I am sure if 100,000 shillings was on the table, then that could be something that we are fighting for. Just to make a comparison. Over the weekend, it's alleged that the president awarded 2 million shillings for every player in the Gor Mahia versus AFC game, with just a draw. I can imagine if the same happened to the hockey league, what would happen? Watu hiyo game ya USIU na Polisi ingeisha hivyo. It will have been a totally different game overall. So for me, I think it's there's no culture because probably there's nothing to look forward to. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily monetary, but maybe that is no longer there. And Senge can probably share into this in comparison to the yesteryears when Simba Union grounds was still Maram, the kind of game that was being played there when they were still playing for the Army.
Yeah, let's hear from Coach Senge. Yeah.
It's true that motivation plays a key role in churning out results. A motivated player will give you. Back in the day when we were playing, when I was playing for the national team, issues like just the tracksuit or the hockey stick or the t-shirt written on Kenya was good enough motivation, and we used to play for that t-shirt. But having said that, we talked about service structure in school. The schools that play decent hockey sometimes don't win. The schools that are able to hit the ball the hardest sometimes win. Owing to the surface that they're playing in, and the teams that try to build play and outlet in a decent way sometimes lose it because of surface. And then schools have now gone to the result mode. The end will justify the means. We don't want to go through the process. And we are so focused on winning and not developing of the players. And that's where I think we've lost it. Because when these players now come to university setups, for example, and they want to hit the ball like they are hitting somewhere in Narok, for example, and the coach here tells them, no, play like that. First, it's a culture shock that you want to bring these things about presses and turnover management. And why don't we just hit this? This is what we used to do. Players have ever told me that, you see, this hitting is what we won East Africa game. And I said, yeah, but who are you playing against? It depends. If you're playing against some Tanzania team that can't handle a ball, when you fringe when you hit the ball, then of course you will win. But when you come to the league where somebody's basics are so correct that within 10 yards, they're able to stop the ball and punish you with it, it becomes, and then now the frustration sets in that tunachapa na wanatufunga nayo. So what else? And you see, they are closed their mind to this other option of trying to play wide and possess. We are not very good with possession hockey. And for me, that is where we need to change a lot in terms of how we manage the Kenyan game. We don't believe so much in possession. And even the teams that try to possess the game, when they get to the opponent's 23, they get desperate and they just want to abracadabra something and hope it works. When we play out there, people get to the baseline and recycle. If there's no opening, they recycle or play for the foul, play for the PC. But sisi tunafika hapo tunataka kupiga. It's a process that we have to insist on as coaches. We have to, and the players must be willing to unlearn what they have to learn this and trust the process.
Simon, let me just compare it with the USIU police game, because at some point that's what we ended up seeing, that USIU get into the D, they become so desperate and want to hit that ball. Unlike police, at some point they had to repeat the thing again. So you're quite right.
Yeah. The reason as to why that discussion came up is because of the national setup, where you find that now, I think Coach Senge has experience in this and probably can shed more light on this. You find that a lot, I find that some players usually struggle in the national team setup. You have to go back and start dealing with the basics. I also think, Coach Senge, we've had this discussion with you off air, and you've mentioned the same. Instead of now the national team coach concentrating on the tactical, mental, and technical aspect, and technical aspect is not in terms of how you're holding the stick or how your pose is or how you're stopping the ball. The technical bit should be receiving on the run, receiving on the baseline, and such things. And you're already privy to that. You're already aware of that. It becomes difficult for the national team coaches to bring that up to light. The other thing is, as much as, yes, we are talking about the tactical and technical aspect, there's also in terms of fitness. The sort of fitness training we are used to is running for kilometers and expecting that we are going to have speed in the game. Hockey has changed. It's all about short sprints, change of direction, and all that. So
Actually, it's called start stops.
Yeah, start stop. So
yes.
Yeah, are we asking players to run continuously for 40 minutes and hope that fitness will be there? It's a tricky one. So, Coach Senge, do you think that that's one of the things that's making things difficult? I mean, even if we look at games we've played at AFCON in Ghana, we still have some of those tendencies where you find a player wants to hit the ball hard to bypass the midfield all the way to the defense for to get the ball.
It's there are some things, muscles we coach that call the twitch muscles, and Coach Kanyi has tried to work with this with the players in the national setup, and therefore address the start-stop nature of the game. The game is no longer played in 70; it's played in periods of 15, and then in that 15 you still stop. So it has to be quick, explosive action over a short period of time, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So we have to change how we train as well. But that doesn't negate the general fitness of the player.
Yeah.
For starters, for example, if you're to do a beep test, we expect that we would be in the region of level 12. If you're a man, level 12, 14, thereabout is good enough. You have to do yo 17 or something like that. But you can only judge your fitness if you're able to test your fitness. Not many clubs test their fitness. They just train and then imagine that they're fit. So we don't know exactly where we are at in terms of fitness. And true, fitness is very key. A fit body reacts faster. A fit body recovers faster. And a fit body thinks sharpest. So if we are not fit, then we've lost half the battle. Having said that, it comes to now the culture. We talked about clubs just showing up, running. It's what cultures are we having? And do we appreciate the four facets of the game: the physical, mental, technical, and tactical? When you start, one, fitness is not supposed to be done by your coach. The players need to own up to their fitness. It's just a 20 minutes jog morning and evening. We used to do that in our playing days. Very rarely would you see hockey players now going for morning jog on their own. Very rarely. And even when they come to training and you tell them to do a jog, they'll do 1 lap, 2 laps, and then they stretch. They have warmed up. That's the culture. And it is wrong, because if your body is not conditioned well, risk of injury is high, reaction time is lower, sharpness is gone, so many other factors. So our culture must, again, coming to the why do we need to be fit? If the players really want to understand why, then they will not have a problem just investing 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. It has nothing to do with your work schedule or your school schedule. If you're going to work at 8, for example, or you get into the office at 8, if you woke up at 5:30 and did a 20 minutes run, gets you 6 o'clock, you can leave and go to work. I have seen clubs come to City Park at 6:30 in the morning, train, and then go to work. So it's possible to wake up and do something. But how many players wake up to do that something? How many players can actually stand to 20 straight push-ups? You ask players to do push-ups, at the 10th push-up, they're shaking. How many players can hold down 40 sit-ups without saying, hiyo tosha? So these are the things, these are the education, bits of education that the coaches have to try and work on with the players to make them understand. Because sometimes, for example, now, if your session starts at 5:30, for example, the sun is down by 6:30, 6:45. That's 1.5 hours. If you want to put fitness in there, you lose something in there. So players have to help the coaches to try and get into a physical shape, or the coaches give a program that the players follow on their own outside of the training session, the coaches training session. So that aspect of training is already covered, and then the coaches deal only with the technical, tactical.
Just to continue that before we read a few comments and end the show. The problem we have is the coaches, and I agree with you. And also the people in charge of the technical, let me say the technical bench, the technical committee of the game are also in charge. These are the people who are in charge of fitness, they're in charge of who is coaching the team, they're in charge of the team managers, the whole team. Everyone is responsible for the culture. I'll give you an example. A player coming into Strathmore right now will know how we'll have to know how you, Coach Senge, have set up the team. What is the culture in terms of at what time do you come for training? In case you miss training, what do you need to do? And all that. If that player comes from that club and goes to another club, it's difficult for them to pick the culture of Strathmore and take it, for example, to a club like Nairobi Chapel. You see, it's all about the setup of the club, the culture of the club. There are clubs we know that once a player steps in, they know what they are required of. I was having a discussion with one of the former KU players, and he was telling me the club he has gone to, it's is very, very strict, and they are doing what I used to try to implement. in terms of you come to training at a particular time, you have to follow this schedule, whether you are in training or not in training. Even when you're injured, you need to be there in the training session. There are few things you can do or still watch the team play. So it's about how the coaches have set up their culture. Yeah. Coach Senge, anything on that?
I agree, and and now that's where the challenge is. That, for example, I have had stories of my ex-players going into another club, and they there's a set of training that they have a different opinion of, and the coaches in that club told them, why ask them, why are you doing this, and said that's how we're supposed to do. For example, pressing. This is how we're supposed to press. This is how the press works. And then they told, no, that is not how we press. So again, it talks to the philosophy of the coach and the club. So the players must also be willing to learn and learn. When you're joining another group, it is not you to change them. It is you to set in, get in, learn what they have, adapt. You can change. But sometimes players get conflict in there that they believe because that's how they've grown up is what it must be. And then now they get, because the coach on the other side also believe this is our philosophy, how we want to do things. So and then it brings a lot of frustration. But the remedy of that is that if we are schooled the same way, and now that brings the discussion of what is our national philosophy. This is a conversation that I'm very passionate about, that we must discuss what our strengths are as a hockey playing nation, what our weaknesses are, and what system of play would work for us. And then clubs now adopt this so that we teach the same thing. So players find it not confused in between here. I've asked for this meeting for the longest time, years now. I've not had the opportunity to execute it. But I keep faith and hope alive that one day it will happen. And the coaches, it is easy for me to design a national philosophy. But then it will be my philosophy. It will not be owned by the coaches. And that's why I really wish that we could have a coaches conference. And people share and people agree. And when we leave that room, we have a way forward that this is how we want to play based on these strengths and these weaknesses. And then we start to execute it at club, knowing fully well the role of the player in this zone, in this position on ball and off ball. So if you come to the national team, we are not teaching the system anymore. You already know the system. We are just polishing the system.
Yeah, true. Now, to some of the comments here, Eric Mulati is saying, nice discussion. Thank you very much for watching. We have Peter who is saying, anacheka hapo anasema, we have a few well-trained coaches in this country who can mold players at the right stages. Sisi wengine ni impressed holders. Do you expect we can be able to produce players for elite performance? We have a long way to go up until... I think the comment there is not... I think it has been hidden a bit. But his point there, do you think that it's a matter of interests where the coaches need to come forward and say, hey, we are interested in continuing education? Or is it a matter of, as Njugush said, there is no motivation for the coaches to seek the right forum and the right avenues to grow themselves as coaches?
I think knowledge is power. And it doesn't break a bone to be a bit more knowledgeable. It's just and coaches I've run courses and people shy away from courses, especially they imagine that they're going to do an exam and fail. I think Kenyans are afraid of failing exams. And in coaching, there's no right and there's no wrong. It's an opinion and it can be shepherded into a certain direction. So we should just embrace it. Like, for example, this weekend, I'm doing a course in Nakuru. A level 1 course in Nakuru. I'm conducting one. And I've got interesting numbers coming up. But that is only Nakuru. So when we call a course in, I have got people attending courses, and then on the day 2 of the course, they don't show up again. Or when you give an assignment, they don't submit. But having said that, The other route away from coaches education is the long-term athlete development, which we must embrace. We're already having a program. We're doing one at City Park that runs every Saturday for 6s, under 10s, and the 14s. For now, the program is supposed to run with even the 18s, but that is the way to go. So that these players coming into from that tender age already have the hockey player mentality. They have the vision of a player. Sometimes it becomes difficult for a fully grown man or woman to learn certain things and to adapt. So if they start learning early at age 6, 10, the muscle memory stores it. And they love the game for longer. So that we are doing. We are doing Nairobi as a pilot. And then we are supposed to do Mombasa and Kisumu as the next phase. And then the other phase will be now Nakuru, Kakamega, Kitale, Kerugoya, Thika or Kerugoya. So we'll have 7 centers of excellence. But if we go that route, for sure something will change. So it is about coaches' education, people willing to just get knowledge. And it is not enough. And again, this is a catch that sometimes people come to the course to get the certificate, but not the content, because they want to get a job with it. I've attended courses in diaspora where people are not even interested in the certification, and they've done the same level 3 or 4 times. They're saying, every time I come to another one, I learn something new. I add to my knowledge base. The problem is that when we come, not all of us want to add to our knowledge base. We want the document to secure a job, and even with that knowledge that we have, we are not able to use it in the pitch. So again, the change of mentality in that space would help us a lot.
Okay, awesome. Now let's have a look at some other comments here. We have a comment from JP who says that I think culture is influenced with the coaches, and lack of trained coaches contributes to such culture. Another contributor to culture is players' attitude and the so-called are pro or have experience. You will get players just coming and just getting into the game directly without even warming up. It is high time as coaches we have structured system in place in coaches training. These structures systems were part of the training. We've seen also in the culture in terms of how we are getting prepared for matches. We have clubs, most clubs, someone has the kit, they come, they distribute the kit to the team. You find most of the time players are still coming into the changing room. Not everyone is there on time, especially for clubs that are self-sponsored. You find by the time the coach is coming to give a team talk, the other team is already going into the changing room requesting them to leave. So I think it's a huge thing. It's not only coaching as well, it's also in terms of team management. For example, I remember back when I was playing at Wazalendo, we agreed that we meet 2 hours before the game, and whenever the match that is being played gets to halftime and our match is next, we go to the changing room, we do our pleasantries, we share our greetings, and then go and play. So Coach Senge, what's your comment on this?
Match day management is very key. When a player runs into the pitch when the rest of the team is already stretching, that player is not mentally ready for that game. They have the pressure of, I came late, where's my socks, who has my stick, who has my shin pad. Their mind is not focused on the game. There's something we call visualization. You have to visualize the game. You have to play this game before you play the game. From the moment you went to bed. My culture, when we talked about culture, my culture as a player was that on the night of the game, my kit was already packed. Not packed in a bag, arranged on top of my drawer. My shoes, sticks, shin pad, everything the way they're supposed to be. And I look at them and I say, tomorrow, there is duty for me here. And I'm already set for that game. But when a player wants to, I've had stories that some people are in the room and somebody is calling, wewe uko wapi? Ati niko hapa Ngara na kam. Nishafika Ngara ama nishafika Gan. and the team is actually walking out of the change. Wewe bado uko Aga Khan. You knew, for example, for Strathmore, 1 hour before the game, you're supposed to be in the changing room. And that is good enough reason to not make you play if you're not in that space, because we have to change without pressure. We have to be relaxed in that mode. The coach has to give the final comments before, final preps before the game. So when the coach is organizing his team and you're not there and you're supposed to be part of that setup, how now? So again, talking to cultures and team management, game management, sometimes players tell me that, coach, I've got a culture of naming my team on the match day in the changing room. And my players sometimes tell me that, coach, it would do us a lot of good if you mention this. We're playing on Saturday, name the team on Friday. And I like that. I agree with that. But the problem is that when sometimes you mention the team on Friday, the people who are not part of the 18 sometimes don't show up. Either because they're desolate, because sija make team, so staki kuchekwa kwa terraces. So in the process, they lose the lessons that they could have learned from their colleagues playing in there, and maybe critique their team or grow in the system. So because of that, because of our unprofessional nature, I choose to allow everybody to come, mention my 8. Everybody comes ready for the game. Then, yes, these are the 18. The rest who are not playing will help us with the video, will help us with water, will help our team management and watch the game. Then when we review the game, everybody saw that game. Everybody watched that game. As opposed to people didn't show up at all. And then when you review, you're telling them a story.
Yeah. Totally agree with that. It's a discussion we can continue having. Thank you very much, Coach Senge, for taking time to stay on this roadside, stop your car, stay on the roadside, and actually have this discussion with us. We are going definitely to invite you back again into the show. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Jugush had to step out a bit, power issues, tunaelewa KPN si vile huwa wanatufanya, but until next time, ladies and gentlemen, keep safe, cheers, and bye-bye.